Good evening, everyone. I'm Jayne Dixon Weber, the Director of Education and Support Services at the National Fragile X Foundation. I would like to welcome you to this evening's webinar, and we have 3 topics for you tonight. First, I'll do a short talk on an intro to the National Fragile X Foundation's International Fragile X Conference that's coming up this July. Then Dr. Erickson will tell you about research opportunities that will take place before and after the conference that are available for families. And then at the end of this hour long, we will have a Q&A on medications with Dr. Erickson. Before we begin, I want to say these webinars are made possible by your donations. Thank you for your ongoing support. Now, I'll start with a short intro into information about the International Conference. Can you see my slide, David? Okay, I'm here. I got it. All right. Can you see my slide? Can you see the first slide?
You can.
Okay. Great, everyone. So we are ready to go. Let's see here. You know, I just want to say that, the National Fragile X Foundation has a mission to provide unwavering support to every family affected by Fragile X while relentlessly pursuing a cure. And our goal is to provide this daily support to you. Okay, so here's some of the benefits from attending an international conference. So you've got you will see some of the leading Fragile X experts, the latest research, and you'll also learn new techniques for, all aspects of your day. It's a unique opportunity to connect with any and everyone in the Fragile X community. And if you've never been to if you've been to a conference, you know what I'm talking about. If you've never been to a conference, it's amazing the people that you get to meet and have conversations with. I think you'll provide lots of ideas for support in your daily life, and you will find some new friends and start lifelong friendships. Here's just a few more just kind of general information about the conference. It is the largest of its kind in the world. And, the majority of the sessions are family friendly, and they cover all aspects of the Fragile X disorders. Most of the sessions are on Fragile X syndrome, but there's also a chance, if you're interested and you want, to attend the scientific and technical sessions. And some of these sessions are basic science, where scientists are talking about their studies on mice and flies and molecules. And then you can also attend sessions where they talk about the clinical research, where the research that takes place like at some of the Fragile X clinics across the country. So there's a lot, I think you've all been on the website. If you haven't, go to the website and you can look at the information about the hotel. Everything is, held at one hotel. We keep everything there, and we've got a special room block for people who attend the conference. So what we're going to do this year at registration, when people who are it's their first time to the conference, we're going to encourage them to take a green lanyard, whereas everyone else will be wearing a gray or black lanyards, because we want to be able to provide support for people who are attending the conference for the first time, because we know that there's a lot going on, and we want to support people as best we can. We're also going to provide red buttons. I've arranged with about 25 conference mentors to wear these red buttons to be available for people to ask them questions. So we're going to try to support people on both ends. If you're wearing a green lanyard, people may come up and say, "How are you doing?" Anything I can help you with. But we're going to have people with red buttons that are also available for questions. It was originally designed for first-time attendees, but they're really available for anyone. There will be a welcome desk there that Joe Guerrera is going to man, so that's going to be another place that you can go for your questions. And the agenda is online, and you want to check up every Friday because I'm still doing updates, though we are very, very close to having it in a final form. Just briefly, I just want you to know when you look at the agenda, we do have tracks for different, everything from young children with Fragile X syndrome to behavior and education and girls and adults and premutation carrier issues. And so we really think we've put together something that will appeal to everyone. We have daily keynote talks, and we'll have those each morning, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. The Thursday keynote is more basic science in nature, but we have a very special doctor who will be discussing restarting the FMR1 gene, and so the reactivating, I guess I should say, the gene and her progress on that. Then we have more of a clinical science talk on Friday with our own Dr. Craig Erickson and one of his colleagues, Devin Binder. And then on Saturday morning, we have Brenda Finucane, who's going to give us an inspirational talk about working with people with Fragile X syndrome, and a very special, she's going to be sharing her keynote time with the Chief Diversity Officer from Kroger stores. So Kroger's in Cincinnati, and actually because of my son's connections with Kroger, we were able to get someone from Kroger to come talk. We've got 6 pharmaceutical companies who will be giving updates on a session, and we're going to hold this industry update session on Thursday afternoon. And so they'll be giving us the latest on their clinical trials. We have an expanded poster section on Friday, and then you can see we've got special lunchtime talks on Thursday and Friday, along with our Saturday banquet. And yes, the not to be missed David's dance session. And David loves it when I talk about that. He's still getting it ready. So that's actually, he teaches the self-advocates a dance session, and then they perform it on Saturday night. Here are some of, I'm sorry. Here are some very
fun, Jane.
It is very fun. Here are some of the questions that we get, and I'm trying to move this over so I can see this here. Just so you know, when you come to the hotel, every hotel, I'm going to say, and of course I say this and it won't be the same, every hotel is cold. Be ready for probably 68 to 70 degrees in the hotels. I always have a jacket on and pants. I want you to be, be comfortable, but make sure you bring an extra jacket or sweater to throw on. There will be, I want you to go through and look at the agenda, look at the tracks, and as you read through, you'll be able to look at the sessions that you're most interested in. We are going to be using an app this year, and all the information on the conference will be on the app. My suggestion to you, if there's certain doctors or other professionals that you want to meet, go to their session and wait after their talk, and you'll get a chance to introduce yourself and ask questions that you're interested in. And I know that this often happens because we've got, what if you want to go to more than one session at a time? So I'm hoping that at the kickoff session on Wednesday, you connect with another person, and so that if you want to go to, you both want to go to different sessions, that you can meet up later and compare or take notes or find out what went on in each of the sessions. All the information will be on the app. I've asked every presenter to upload their presentation. Just so you know, it can feel like a whirlwind because there's a lot of people and a lot going on and a lot of information, but so don't feel like you have to go to every session. You will learn from others that you meet even in the hallways, in between sessions, and like I had mentioned earlier, much of the information is online. Take care of yourself. Eat well, get plenty of sleep, and take time to relax. I know that getting plenty of sleep is a challenge for many of us, so there's so much to go on that you don't want to miss anything. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. If we don't get it answered at the end of today, you can email me at jane@fragilex.org, or you can go on to our Facebook page at the NFXF International Conference and post your question there so that you'll get answers from a variety of people from a variety of experiences. And so I'll see you in Cincinnati. I hope I do. And if I haven't met you, well, even if I have met you, please come up and say hi. Introduce yourself, say hi. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Okay, now I'm going to switch over to Dr. Erickson.
Hey, Jane, I have my slides working on my own computer if I can share it.
Will that work, David?
I had to add one slide. And I have a webcam here so everybody can see me in I am on PTO, normal person, non-scientist, not necessarily clean shaven Dr. Erickson tonight. So this is reality. And would you, can you guys see my screen? I'm just going to pull the slides up here, if that's okay. Does that work?
I can't see your screen, Craig. I've already shared with you, and I've made you presenter. Is there a question?
There we go. Good deal. All right. So first, I would just like to say, I'd be remiss if I didn't say how honored that we are to really have this meeting in Cincinnati. I went to the first international meeting. The first one I went to was in St. Louis. And my wife was pregnant with our oldest child, who's almost 10. So that I always remember that was 2008 in St. Louis. And we went out there, and I didn't know what to expect. I'd been seeing folks with Fragile X, specifically in clinic, for about 4 years then. And, I go to this meeting because, that's what you're supposed to do when you're doing Fragile X work. And it was just an incredible experience. And, there's no other meeting really in the world, especially with a relatively rare disorder, where the best scientists, family advocates, self-advocates, therapists, really anyone involved, with Fragile X and improving and changing outcomes are all together in a really collegial environment. It's just an amazing setup. And, when I moved from Indianapolis to Cincinnati, and I'm from Cincinnati, so, it's my hometown. So in a lot of ways, it's extra special for me. And I moved to Cincinnati 6 years ago. And once we kind of, got the program established there and moving forward, I wanted nothing else than to really partner with our local family organization to make an effort to bring the international meeting to Cincinnati. And, we're selfishly doing it. So our clinic families that can't otherwise attend are able to attend. But really, I'm tickled pink that in the heart of Cincinnati, where I grew up, where we built a Fragile X Center, where Fragile X is given the respect it really deserves, and we hope tremendous treatment, that we're able to bring everyone together and all these resources. So, I'm super excited. I'll be there the whole time at welcome desks, our table, giving talks. We'll have about 20 people from our Fragile X Center down there, our research coordinators, scientists, all of our doctors will be there. And really our goal is just to welcome people and support the event. And I think it's going to be really incredible. So I'm extremely excited. I'll have my son with me, who again, he's been to every meeting since 2008, if you count, not being born yet. Or his first official one was 2010 in Detroit, where he really enjoyed going to all the museums, Greenfield Village, right around the meeting. And I always take my family to all the meetings too. So we're excited about hearing where it's going to be in 2 years, because we're never going to miss one. It's just way too much fun and an amazing experience. So I can't wait to meet people. I love meeting families, having people come up to me. We have people coming to our Cincinnati Center from around the country and the world based on some of the meetings and outreach and being able to shake hands and talk to people in San Diego and LA before that and Miami before that. And now it's in downtown Cincinnati. So it'll be 68 degrees in the hotel and probably like low 90s and humid outside. So that's the way it is in the Midwest, but we'll have a great welcoming time. And I'm going to use a little bit of my time here to talk about some things that families can do if they're interested in research during the meeting, because I've had a lot of questions around the country. People saying, Dr. Erickson, we know about your research. We're coming to the meeting. What can we do? And there are some opportunities available, and we want to speak a little bit about that. So the first thing we're doing is, in talking with the foundation, Thursday evening, there's a little bit of open time potentially. So what we're having at Cincinnati Children's Hospital at our Fragile X Research and Treatment Center, and our actual center is probably about less than 10-minute drive up a hill north from the conference hotel, so it's pretty close. So we're going to be chartering bus service to bring people up if they want from the meeting, families, any attendees, to attend a large open house at our center. We basically have, reserved the large conference space at our hospital where our center is. And we're going to show a movie. We're going to have dinner. It's all free transportation, and just a chance for people to see the clinic, see the center, see the hospital. Because frankly, if Cincinnati Children's Hospital wasn't supporting our Fragile X Center, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. So we're really proud of that, and we want to share it. And if that evening people are interested in some of the research opportunities I'm going to mention, they want to try to, participate, do something that evening, they're welcome to. But you just want to hang out and eat, watch a movie, meet each other, touch base and meet some new friends. Happy to do that. So that's a Thursday evening experience. And if you want to RSVP, so we can get a count on how many people, so we prepare food and transportation, you can email us at fragilex@cchmc.org, or you can just come up at our exhibitor table and we'll have more information. So that's Thursday evening, leaving at 6:45. Our bus will be leaving, and then we're going to get back probably, leave at 9. We don't want to keep people up too late. So we'll be up at the Fragile X Center for about 2 hours, get back a few minutes after 9, and then rest up for Friday. But that's an opportunity if people are interested. We'd love to have you involved. Okay, now I'm going to talk about some details of research that people can do while they're in Cincinnati, either the days beforehand, the Sunday, Monday afterwards, potentially in the evening, potentially that Thursday night if you come up to clinic. Some of the stuff we'll have available in the hotel to make it easier. And one of the things that you can do in the hotel is the first part, which is using EEG, which studies brain electrical activity, and some cognitive computer-based testing. Because we found that some folks with Fragile X have trouble with cognitive flexibility, or sort of changing their approach. So transitioning from one thought to another, trying new things, coping with routine changes, switching from preferred behavior, shifting topics. So we're trying to learn more about that. And what we do is we have basically a computer-based test that has folks learn things and then patterns change up. And we're trying to study how the brain responds to that. And it's all non-invasive because it's basically an EEG net and looking at a computer screen. Takes about a half an hour of testing, and maybe for other parts, including consent, maybe 2 hours total. So this is available, like I said, throughout that whole week. And it's really getting at, why are there some of these flexibility challenges for some folks with Fragile X? And we really think this is something that can be treatable too, but we need to understand it first. So here we have a picture of an adult in our clinic that allowed us to very nicely allowed us to use this photograph to give people an idea. But basically, it's how long does it take to do something like, switch, which animal are you picking, and then you go back to the original animal, meaning can you understand a new pattern pretty quickly? And while you're doing that, we're studying how your brain's activating and with what kind of patterns. We've had some really good luck with this. A lot of folks enjoy doing it. We've been primarily running adolescents and adults with this computer testing, but it's easy, it's non-invasive. It'll even be at the Hyatt Hotel to make it even more convenient for people. For example, on a Sunday right after the meeting or right before the meeting, something like that. All right, the next point that we have going on is we do research with transcranial magnetic stimulation with Dr. Ernie Pedipati, a colleague of mine. And it really uses magnetic pulses to show us how the brain functions. And folks are fully awake and alert. They're watching videos while it happens. And we have something held above the skull generate a magnetic pulse. And really, we do this in anybody over age 8 that doesn't have currently active seizures. And here's a picture of what it looks like. Very, very safe, and it has a readout on a finger. So actually, it's taping the little lead on the index finger that probably bothers people more than anything else, and that we tend to do pretty well with. And then what the woman's holding there, the TMS coil, that's just the magnet that sends the pulse that we study the brain's response to. So we've been really lucky. The National Institutes of Mental Health has supported Dr. Pedipati to do this work in Fragile X. And this is the official ad. It's 8 to 55-year-olds. We do have some time travel money available for this. And then I was going to say overall, depending on the project and duration and everything, we do have, some discretion and ability to support travel costs for research participants. So, if you come in a day or two early and you're doing a research study and you're coming to Cincinnati anyway, we can often work out travel reimbursement for the research, and we tend to do that generally up to about $1,000 a participant for our various projects. So if you email us at fragilex@cchmc.org, we can talk through any potential travel support too. So this is a really exciting project, and my colleague, Dr. Kelly Dominic, who works with us, she has a PhD and did her doctoral work in neuroimaging, and also as a child psychiatrist, adult psychiatrist, and a pediatrician. Dr. Pedipati is the same way. So we have some really broadly, amazingly trained people. And Dr. Dominic, what she's doing is she's studying with MRI in infants and toddlers what some of the factors that we can look at in the brain are that cause autism risk in Fragile X. And we also think we can get some insight into seizure risk too. So we're able to do MRI imaging in 3 months to 3-year-olds with Fragile X. And so if anybody's coming with infants around the meeting time or to the meeting, this is available. I think we got a couple infants lined up, and we're still able to do some more, but it's non-invasive, no radiation. And that's Dr. Dominic's son there, enjoying it. And we do a lot of, prep work for folks that are coming. And there's a headset that can be worn and different things. There's no sedation, no radiation. If it doesn't work the first time, then we can try it again. Oftentimes we do have real success at nap time or bedtime, and we do the test sleeping. So again, no radiation, no sedation, baby imaging. It'll be readily available, and here's the official ad. So this is exciting, and there aren't a lot of babies available in Fragile X research because a lot of folks aren't diagnosed yet. So if folks have an early diagnosis, we can really follow you as thoroughly as possible with something like this MRI study to really look at the earliest brain activation, the size of various brain regions, to look for any abnormalities and things that can predict later results. So that's a pretty exciting project. And I think one thing you'll hear from me is the Cincinnati Fragile X Center is a number of scientists and investigators that I've been really lucky to recruit. I've played a role in training them, but we have a pretty good-sized group of about at least 6 physician and doctoral psychologists doing Fragile X research and clinical care. So we really built a big group, and it's a lot more than just myself. So I'm probably, as proud of that as anything, how we've really brought some amazing people into the Fragile X world. So this is another project. This one's pretty easy to do. It's just a blood test. So we get a blood sample. We do blood spots on a card. This is a technique developed at the Institute of Basic Science, Ted Brown's group in Staten Island before Ted departed into retirement. Liz Berry-Kravis does this in Rush in Chicago. And we're going to be able to do this throughout the week, in particular before and after, and then at that Thursday night event. But we can get people their Fragile X protein level in their blood. And I show a slide here because it's pretty interesting. That folks with the full mutation, there's some variation. Folks with the pre-mutation, so we're really interested in also getting pre-mutation carrier blood, there's some variation. So we're trying to understand this variation, and in particular with full mutation males, we think that those that are making some protein, and I don't know if you can see my arrow here, but this is looking in at the full mutation group. And there's some folks, including males, that are making a bit of detectable protein, that may have a better prognostic effect. Because it's really not an absolute yes or no protein. There's variance, and there may be some folks with the pre-mutation that are showing some protein reductions that could be concerning. And there are some folks with the full mutation that are making more protein than expected. And we can now assay or test this in blood in our research protocols. And this is available, and then we can get that information back to families and discuss it. So we're pretty excited about getting really down to the biology of looking at the actual protein, the Fragile X protein in blood. And that's something that'll be available throughout the meeting time. The
Craig,
next is a behavior.
Excuse me,
yes,
Craig.
Yes.
So we weren't able to see your slides, so I'm sharing the slides that you sent me, but I don't see that study on the FMR1 protein.
Oh, that's the one I added, and why I was trying to share my screen. So that's a great point. Is there?
So yeah, I went straight to the BOSC page.
Yeah, I added one. So am I not able to share my screen then? I just was acting like I was sharing my screen.
And I've been listening to you and moving right along. I was able to tell.
Much appreciated. Much appreciated.
I didn't want to interrupt
David,
you, but, I tried to make you presenter. Would you like to try it one more time?
Yeah, let's try it one more time just for this slide, because I've got a Fragile X protein blood slide.
Okay, I just shared with you. I just made you presenter.
Okay.
Are you able to? Do you see anything? Are you sure you're on the correct computer?
I think so. I just clicked.
Here it is.
Yes.
There it is. Okay. All right.
See, you could be a good scientist, but if you don't click yes when you're prompted, you're worthless. So I figured that. I just learned that. So this is great. So now people can see the blood, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. Let me see if I can maybe make this even a little bit, make it bigger, and then cross my fingers. Can everyone still see it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, so the blood. So when I was talking, but you couldn't see anything. Now, so basically we have here on the left of this diagram, no known Fragile X diagnosis. We have pre-mutation carriers in the middle, and we have full mutation individuals on the right. And the point is there's variation. So we're very interested in understanding, because we think some of the highest functioning males are probably making a degree of protein. We think that we can use protein sampling in males to potentially predict developmental outcome. And this is an easy test that we can do during the conference time. that Thursday evening time before the conference, after the conference. We have that flexibility to do this. So we're really excited about it. A few places do it, and that we're trying to make it widely available because I think it's pretty meaningful. So I think that's exciting, and we'll be able to have people do blood sampling if they're interested. And like everything, Fragile X at cchmc.org if you want to try to get something scheduled. So the BOSC is a communication observational outcome measure being developed in Fragile X that we think can be a good outcome. It's done in collaboration with Kathy Lord, who's the world's leader in autism diagnostics. And we're partnering with her, and we're also collaborating with UC Davis Mind Institute. And this is a 2-day kind of thing. So sort of pre or, before or after the conference. But it's boys with Fragile X who are 3 to 12, and it's observational. It's pretty easy. It's kind of a structured play scenario that's recorded and then coded. And we think it's pretty important to have a quantitative, meaning, it's observed. It's not just somebody's report of how folks are communicating and interacting socially to then detect change over time. So again, we do this kind of back to back on 2 days, but we'll be doing this the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday before the conference. And then that, Sunday, the latter second half of Sunday, Monday, even into the following week will be available for folks if they're going to be around in town and have interest. It's a pretty exciting project, pretty new thing too. And our psychologist, Rebecca Schaefer, is really leading those efforts. All right, this is NeuroNext, and this is Liz Berry Kravis's baby, and we're one of the large enrolling sites along with Rush. But you'll hear a lot about this at the meeting. It is a clinical trial, so it's not something you can just do during the meeting week, but you can get a lot of great information about it. If you have a 3 to 6-year-old with Fragile X, it's really an amazing project, and we've had a lot of folks enrolling in Cincinnati. And Liz will have it information at a table, and I really encourage people to think about it because there's sites all over the country, and you can be connected with potentially the easiest site for you to work with during the study. So this is more of a get information about. It'll be a good opportunity. We're doing another thing to get information about that involves a few visits, but we're doing a really interesting study of 3 drugs, single dose, lovastatin and baclofen, which is the generic kind of version of the STX-209 that Seaside studied, and minocycline and placebo. We're studying that in Fragile X to look at what effect it has on brain activation. So that's a pretty cool study. We've seen some interesting minocycline effects I'll probably talk about on Friday morning at the meeting. But there's, a few visits involved with this. So if you want to check out our clinic, get more information, talk to me about it in person, you can do that, during the meeting. But that's a pretty interesting study. It's got about a year left on a National Institutes of Health sponsorship there. We work, and this is a plug for the United States Center for Disease Control Forward Project, which is a large natural history study. We do work with Forward in infants and toddlers to track language development with digital language recording. And then in adolescents and adults, we do some really exciting work with Fitbit activity monitors to try to look at physical activity changes as people get older with Fragile X. So those are things that we could get people connected with through the meeting too, kind of at the youngest and then the adolescent and adult age range. And this is like for all Cincinnati research. So if you email us, we can try to work to schedule something to best meet your family's needs. Clinic is open and research all day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday up until meetings start, Sunday, Monday afterwards. I know a lot of folks have asked about seeing me in clinic, and so what I'm doing is Wednesday we have some like clinic consortium meetings, but all day Monday, all day Tuesday from 7 to 8 or 8 to 8, 12 hours, whatever. I'm going to be seeing families. So, you don't by any means have to participate in research. If you want to schedule time with me, you can just schedule clinic time. I could do it the Sunday afterwards, Monday, Tuesday prior. we're just happy to help. But we'll be doing clinic and research stuff. We have some evening hours available. In particular, we're focusing on that Thursday time that's not disruptive to other activities with the meeting. Some testing, the computer testing and EEG, will be available at the hotel. And we have some travel reimbursement available based on the project and time spent. And if you contact us at fragilex@cchmc.org, we can talk about that specifically and see what we can work out. And then consider joining us for the open house, dinner, a movie, and a tour, research or no research. I don't know, I have a typo after that, but it's supposed to be enjoy the evening, not even the evening. That's a little weird, but whatever. That's just the way it goes. So,
well,
yeah.
Well, I was just going to add, so that Thursday evening, the industry updates session that I mentioned goes from 4:30 to 6:30. So this is immediately following that. You'll have buses there ready to go straight to your clinic right after that update session.
And you will eat as soon as you arrive, because we will all be hungry, and we realize that. So if you come up the hill to our open house after the industry sessions, we'll start with dinner. We'll have a movie. If people want to, do research stuff or talk or tour or watch the movie, whatever, and then, about 9, we'll come on back down. So, it'll flow right after those industry talks to be able to ride. Like I said, it's about a 10-minute ride. It's easy. And then we will eat, and my family will be there, and all of our physicians and their families. And it's just a nice laid back, environment in a kind of a large conference space that won't be too loud and crazy, and then there will be a movie if you're interested in that. So
Craig, I did get one question about the protein sampling in the blood slide. What does it said small p capital M stand for?
Picomolar. So that's just a tiny that's just a tiny scientific notation for the scale of measurement. So the way I would look at it is, on average, we're seeing about 40 of whatever measurement unit it is in people without the pre or the full. And then in the pre, we're seeing a little bit less than that on average, but a lot of variance. Meaning there are some folks with the pre-mutation we're seeing some significant reductions in, like half of, quote, normal. And then in the full mutation, our average is, right about 10. But that's showing that some people are expressing, and then a lot really have undetectable levels. So I think the real point here is that within the pre-mutation and full mutation condition, there is variation. And so we're really trying to get into the discovery and, understanding, like in the pre-mutation, well, what does it mean if your FMRP concentration is pretty reduced, right? Like, what are the other risks, and, what do we need to do about that? So that's where I think science is really moving forward, that it's not just this perfect on-off switch in the full mutation.
So will you try to correlate, like on the pre-mutation FMRP levels, will you try to correlate that to CGG levels?
Yeah, so we'll have CGG levels, and we send out our CGG testing to Lisbury Kravis. So we'll have kind of the state-of-the-art research-based classic diagnostic testing, like with CGG repeats, and then we get these protein assay levels. And then we're also trying to correlate it with things like brain function with computerized testing and EEG findings. So how does your brain respond to seeing and hearing things? So we're really trying to link protein to brain activity and activation in really quantitative ways, because, I think the field, and you mentioned it, Jayne, and one of the speakers at the meeting, and there'll probably be a few speakers, there's a lot of interest in what can we do about low protein. And what we're saying is, well, we really got to get on top of measuring it, understanding variation, and seeing how it tracks with functioning. And so that's really what we're working towards. So
another question came in, and I don't know how many how much of this protein sampling that you've done, but what kind of percentage of full mutation boys have more than 0 expression of FMRP?
Well, in our initial work, and we've probably done in the last couple of months about 20 in each group, I think we're going to find that about 1/3 of boys are having some clear above average for Fragile X, or, you know, definitely measurable protein. And in some of those cases, it may be mosaicism, meaning that it's a male that's a mix of pre and full alleles, or pre and full genes, meaning it could be a boy that some of his cells have 120 repeats and some have 500. And those ones with 120 may be making some protein. So, you know, there's definitely some potential there. But I don't think, you know, and like I said, we're doing it, Liz is doing it, a couple of people are doing it. I don't think we have a great idea. I think that's kind of my gut feel. But that's why we got to do this work. Like, who are these people? And are there some individuals that appear quite high functioning who are not making any protein? We don't know that answer. But, you know, in clinic, I just saw my 6th full mutation male who drives. And I told him, I said, now I'm beyond counting on one hand. I think that's awesome. You know, we're seeing some folks that are getting out there and getting driver's licenses, males with a full mutation. Well, you know, why is that, right? You know, why is it that some folks have a different degree of functioning or able to function in a way while driving? You know, that's just an example, but, you know, is that protein based? Is that something else? I mean, we got to get to the bottom of that, because when we're trying to have new treatments, including ones that impact protein, we need to really know how much do we need to change the protein, what's meaningful, you know, those kind of things. And that's why we're doing this work.
And so this blood work is valid for, you know, people who in the typical range and the pre-mutation carrier and full mutation. You're looking for all.
Well, we're looking for all of them, because we need to have a comparison, right? I mean, I need to know what the general population levels are like. The other thing that we're doing, and this is more for people that are, you know, around here in our area, is we're trying to do repeat testing. So, you know, how much variation is there day to day, hour to hour? Because there's some thought that the body normally, quote normally, up and down regulates the protein expression. So there may be some variance just from moment to moment, and we got to get to the bottom of that, because if we're really focusing on adjusting the levels, treating the levels, like some folks will speak about at the meeting, we need to know how much variation there is just in nature itself. So,
got you. So people, if people want to go to your open house on Thursday night, they can either send you an email now, or I know exhibits open at, I believe I saw exhibits open at 2:00 on Wednesday afternoon. So people can go to your exhibit and sign up on Wednesdays and Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they can sign up at the table Wednesday, Thursday. They can email us ahead of time. And we're really, you know, just trying to get a count. I mean, I don't know what our capacity is, but I'm sure it's a few hundred if we just line the buses up. You know, we're only going to do this once, so we want to do it right. But, yeah, they just need to let us know. And, you know, come on up, come on out. I mean, something like this Fragile X blood testing is pretty easy to do. So if there's a lot of interest in doing this, let's say Thursday night, you know, we can have people set up in like 15-minute increments, running through doing it. I mean, but again, if people don't want to do it, that's fine too. We don't care. But, you know, I view everything we're offering as a menu of options. If you're interested in this research stuff, great. If not, great. It's going to be a tremendous experience either way. And I get asked enough about the research that we just want to convey what's available, so expectations are appropriate, and so we can pre-plan if at all possible. Because if a family says, okay, I've got 4 family members, we want to go to your thing Thursday afternoon and we want to get this blood sampling, then I'd way rather get that scheduled even a day beforehand, than have missed opportunities or people wanting to have done something that we couldn't get worked out later. That's really our goal.
Okay. So, I mean, ideally, you'd like people to sign up and say, and I'm interested in doing, A, B, and C, or whatever is possible. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great, because then, I mean, here's the thing. If you connect with us by email, we can email you more information. We can set up a call. We can talk in more detail. And then you can find out, how long does something take? Is this something you would want to just do Thursday evening? Is this something you want to come in? You're coming in the day beforehand. I mean, there's a lot of variability. So we can really just personalize the experience and the options if folks reach out to us, by that email. Or, if they connect with the foundation, Jayne, you put them in touch with us, whatever works.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I think that's an easy way to do it. And I think, here it is, just this fragilex@cchmc.org. And then we can really just work to schedule things to best meet people's needs. So, because, everybody's different. I got people calling from Southern California that want to come in on Monday. Well, okay, great. We'll line that up. Or, I mean, there's just, everybody has a different travel schedule, different interest level, different time availability, different aged individuals, whatever. So we're happy to just work out what can be best if you let us know you have interest.
It's great. I mean, it's really cool you're doing this. Okay, we had another question come in about CRISPR. So we're kind of moving on to a different technology. They saw
Sure.
the Nova TV show on CRISPR. And I mean, basically he wants to know what are the prospects for Fragile X with CRISPR technology?
So I was at a National Institutes of Health meeting recently, and Steve Warren, one of the discoverers of the FMR1 gene, was talking a lot about CRISPR. And, his prospect was we may be, a few years away for potential meaningful use of CRISPR technology to reactivate the gene. I would say there's one company that I think has some really strong Fragile X interest and has the funds available to do meaningful work. Fulcrum Therapeutics is really focused on gene activation, not necessarily using CRISPR. And then there's what's called viral vector technology, or using viruses that are benign as a way to get into a cell and turn a gene on that's off, or delete out repeats. We're very interested in the viral vector technology, and we're starting to pursue some of that. Viral vectors have actually already been approved in some diseases, including some rare genetic disorders, including spinal muscular atrophy. They tend to be studied in diseases that really shorten your lifespan so far. But we think they can be really applicable in Fragile X too. But there's a lot to work out. How do you deliver the virus to the brain? How do you do that in a safe way? But I think the point is, there are a number of different efforts focused on gene reactivation, including CRISPR. I view CRISPR as kind of one bullet in the gun shooting at reactivation. And I think that really the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, we're going to see some really meaningful developments, whether it's CRISPR, viral vectors, or potentially drug-mediated approaches that have yet to be determined. So there's a heck of a lot going on with gene reactivation, and I think people will hear a lot about it at the meeting, and I think it's meaningful. And I think since we're seeing it in some other disorders, that's proof of concept of possibility.
Well, and just to add to that, you mentioned Fulcrum, and just so for everyone on the call, Fulcrum is one of the pharmaceutical companies who will be presenting their research at the industry update session on Thursday afternoon from 4:30 to 6:30. I think Zynerva's up first, and then I think Fulcrum is next on that. And also our keynote on Thursday morning is going to be talking about gene reactivation and their studies with that. So Craig, who's doing viral vector? Who's studying that? Is there a certain company?
there's no specific company doing much with it. There's an investigator whose name eludes me out of the Toronto area who has done some of the work, and we've recently got involved with it in the earliest stages, collaborating with Christina Gross, who's a real leader in Fragile X basic science, who trained down and did some postdoc work at Emory and now is at Cincinnati Children's, and Dr. Petapati, my colleague, and myself are doing some early preparatory work with some specific viral vectors. All that has to be studied in mice first. We're really interested in mouse viral vector studies to see if we can correct the EEG abnormalities in the mouse that we also see in the humans, because we have a very nice signature of abnormal brain responses to sound and other stimuli that are very similar in mouse and human Fragile X. And we think that can be a good assay to see if we can fix it with a viral vector. But again, we're some time away on that. That's early stages. And I work closely with Mike Kernfalia at Fraxa with that and making connections, because a lot of it is, look, we have good academic ideas. We, need to partner with industry at some point to have the funding to do things. How do we get this started? So, but believe me, between CRISPR, drug approaches, and viral, I think we're really at the dawning of a new age of treatment opportunities.
Wow. Some of the other companies that will be at the conference, Zynerba, for example, they're doing the synthetic CBD. Do you know, will they, do you have any idea whether they'll be talking about their clinical trials? Are they starting this year, or do we know?
What I can say from Zynerba is, what's sort of publicly knowledge in the public realm is that Zynerba is taking their early open label data from Australia that they've, essentially published online. And they are doing a large, whether you call it phase 2 or whatever, but multiple hundred individual with Fragile X clinical trial in Australia and the United States. I think that's, published on the internet kind of knowledge. I believe it'll start in the United States probably in late summer. We certainly, anticipate being involved with that, as will a lot of other Fragile X centers. I think the one thing that's confusing with that is it's CBD, which is cannabidiol, in a form that's placed on the skin. It's not THC or sort of the, controlled / drug of addiction and abuse part of marijuana or cannabis.
Right.
So it's really cannabidiol, which has a lot of potential positive brain effects in different disorders. But the US FDA doesn't really differentiate cannabidiol from THC. So it still is under what's called Schedule 1, or the same kind of regulation if it was THC or, frankly, cocaine or methamphetamine. So it's super highly regulated, even though it doesn't have any of those things in it, just because the federal law still says that cannabis-derived products have to have that high level of regulation. So to be frank, that's kind of slows development. It makes it a little bit of a challenge. But yeah, this year that's rolling. We're excited about it. A lot of centers in the country, and I hope they lay out even more details. But if people Google Zynerba, Zynerba, Fragile X, you can get some pretty good information about, what they view as their next large trial, a couple hundred individuals. And it's youth. It's kind of that, I don't, it's a children, adolescent, young adult kind of age range. So that's a nice area where there's not a lot of options right now.
So since they're treating it like the active ingredient in marijuana, like THC, does that mean as a clinic site that you have to jump through more hoops?
Yeah, there's just more hoops. I mean, it's like you got to store it in a big old safe that has to weigh 1,000 pounds, and basic government regulations. I have to fill out more forms than I ever normally do. So it's all stuff that you can overcome, but I just think that, and this is kind of crazy too. CBD oil, which is, not, you don't necessarily know exactly what you're getting, but CBD oil you can buy on Amazon.com is a cannabis product. But technically, it's against federal law to order and possess it. But the government does not regulate it, because I ran into issues with our hospital where we were just telling people, if you want to try CBD oil, fine. And they were kind of like, well, we're telling it's against federal law, but no one regulates it. So this country just has a lot of inconsistencies with how federally we're regulating cannabis products. And that's not really a political statement. That's just the truth. I mean, and it's not necessarily good nor bad, but it is complicating. So.
Wow, that's really, really interesting. I know that the other companies will be Ovid. Ovid will be doing a short presentation. And I don't know if you have anything you want to say about their.
Well, we're going to be an Ovid site. We were an Ovid site for studying the same compound in Angelman syndrome. My colleague Kelly Dominic was at the Ovid meeting this past week, so they're gearing up. So that one is, moving forward. And I think with all projects, especially in early phase studies, smaller studies, which Ovid counts as compared to Zynerba, we really think using EEG and quantitative measures of brain response are important, and we provided that guidance to Ovid, and I'd give that guidance to anybody, so I don't feel bad saying that in the wide audience. And we really appreciate, being able to take some of our findings from our EEG studies and help industry and help other treatment developers move things forward.
Great, and I want people to know too that Assuragen will be there, and they're one of the labs that, I guess they're the only lab right now that does test for your AGG interruptions, and when they do a test for the premutation, so they're going to do a short presentation. Assuragen's been at our conference for the last. They've been at every conference since I can remember, so they're a huge supporter of the Fragile X community. And then we've got Confluence and Tetra also presenting at the industry updates on their trials and drugs.
Yeah, I think that's great. There's a lot going on in the Fragile X sphere, and I've said this on the webinars before, we've had some trial failures, but we've learned a heck of a lot, and I think we're really geared up now to do things in more quantitative ways. And Jayne and I and a lot of other people on the phone were interfaced with the FDA, it was maybe a month ago or so. And, there's a lot of work to do in advocacy and working with industry and academia to bring new treatments forward and assess outcome in good ways. And I think we need to realize that one drug may be awesome for one person with Fragile X and not perfect for the next. And we have to figure that out, because if we don't know why that difference exists, we don't want to lose out on something that really could have helped a certain amount of the population. And I think we're moving forward with that outlook, and we're just assessing drug treatment response in ways that weren't imaginable 10 years ago, or honestly even 5 years ago. So, and the foundation's been incredibly helpful, and I think the advocacy with the FDA and with Capitol Hill to fund stuff is just incredibly valuable, and we have to keep up the FDA advocacy, and I think that's kind of a new horizon for us.
Yeah, I think it is, and we're working at the foundation. We're developing some plans to do that. So so no one else has any more questions at this point. What I'd like to do is go ahead and wrap it up tonight, and I hope we can see everyone who was able to join us tonight. I hope that you'll be able to make it to Cincinnati in, what is it, about 6 weeks? Is it even that far? 5 weeks, 6 weeks out?
Oh man, it's like a month. It's creeping up.
It is. It'll be here before we know it. And then, what I'll do for you, everyone on the call, is that I'll finagle Craig to maybe do another webinar this fall on his traditional medication talk, because that we know that's always it's always, people love that, Craig. People love when you answer all their questions about medication.
Oh yeah,
There's always something new.
That's my October delight.
Yes.
So or early November, whatever happens. But I love doing that. So that'll be great. And here's the thing, like if you're at the meeting, come up to me and I'll answer your questions and talk about medications and, you know, tell me about your child. If your child's there, I'll meet them in person. You can also email fragilex@cchmc.org to just set up a phone call with me. You know, I do that. I'll discuss cases. Jayne's connected me with people around the world, people in Europe and Africa and all over. And so, yeah, the door is always open. I love doing the webinar, and just individually feel free to connect to, and we can sit down and take a few minutes and talk.
Great. Well, Craig, thank you so much for this evening. You always have, a ton of information to share with us. So I appreciate it. You know, speaking on behalf of everyone, I know that we're very appreciative of, of your time, your knowledge, and your willingness to share all that with us. So thank you very, very much. And I look forward to seeing you in Cincinnati. But before we go, I want you to remember that David's dance session is on the agenda. So you want to make sure that you take a peek inside David training the self-advocates a dance to be presented at performed at the banquet Saturday night. It's something you don't want to miss. So Craig, anything else before we go?
No, I can't wait to see everybody in Cincinnati. I have to say, Fragile X has given so much. The community has given so much to myself and my family, and we hope we've given back. And I think this is a time to just really show how much we appreciate the opportunity to really serve the Fragile X world, and just can't wait. I'm super excited, and everybody just come up to me. I'm gonna just be smiling the whole time and not sleeping, and for 10 days straight doing all this great stuff. So. And thanks for setting up the WebEx. This is awesome to reach out to people, and I can't wait to meet you in July.
Great. Well, everyone, thank you. Excuse me. Again, I want you to know these webinars are made possible by your donations, so thank you. Thank you for your donations. And Craig, thank you for your time. And everyone, we'll see you in Cincinnati. And be sure to email us, either Craig or me, if you have any questions or need anything. And until the next time, you guys take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye.